Let's talk about Obsession and what potentially a sequel could look like, an alternate ending, and a plot hole according to the director Curry Barker. So if you haven't watched our review or haven't seen our ending explained, highly suggest that. I think that we are seeing Obsession truly take over. I'm curious about this weekend, especially with Mandalorian and Grogu, I Love Boosters, Passenger, and a ton of other movies coming out, how it's going to hold up. And I think that will really be its big test. But I want to talk about what potentially is the future for an Obsession world and where does it land. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, follow us wherever you can. We're trying to get our TikTok to 10,000 followers right now. So if you can go over there and follow us, I'll leave a link over here or our usernames is right here. So really follow us there. Really would love to get that to 10,000. Let's talk about what Obsession 2 would mean and the plot hole. So let's get into the plot hole that Curry Barker talks about here because he says that it's something that has been bothering him, and that is a plot hole in the film where he feels that it just doesn't make sense. So let's see what he had to say. So when speaking to Total Film, he says that, it's kind of a plot hole. It's something I don't like to think about too much because it totally doesn't make sense that there is a world of people just making wishes. It really doesn't make any sense at all. And so I've seen this already be brought up before in reviews and things like that. When people are making wishes that, there would be a whole lot of other crazy shit happening, but it doesn't really seem to be that way. Now, albeit they are in this small area, maybe people don't really believe in the One Wish Willow, you could say, and don't even purchase it. And maybe by the time somebody tells another person about it, they see just how bad it can get, so they don't go for it, right? So this is what Barker said as well. If the One Wish Willow actually works, which it does in this lore, and people are just making wishes left and right, there would be some crazy like dragons would exist, and none of that. And the world is pretty normal from what we see in this movie, so it doesn't really make sense. So yeah, that's something we see, and of course we are seeing the more outlandish wishes towards the end of the film when Ian makes that wish for $1 billion and it just magically flies in. So there is a realm where like what is actually going on, and he even talks about this a little more with that wish. Here's my take. Every time someone makes a wish, they enter into an alternate reality where their wish comes true. So you're not experiencing everybody's wish at the same time. And that's why, but that doesn't make any sense because the money falls from the ceiling. Yeah, it's broken. So I think we do see that Curry Barker is trying too much to rationalize the idea of this world, which I think is always a bad thing to do with any movies. A movie just exists and you have to take it for what it is, albeit it's absurd and all of that and it doesn't make sense with our reality. The truth is, it isn't our reality unless it's like a documentary or a sort of fictionalized autobiography or biography of sorts. It's another reality. We always have to admit that, right? Barker also talked about during a recent Q&A how they shot multiple endings of sorts, and one of those endings included Nikki Freeman actually ending things, but they actually preferred the ending where she is just taking in everything that has happened, and of course we hear the agonizing screams of realizing what has happened from Nikki, and I think that that ending really is such a stronger one than the previous one they thought about where Nikki was going to end everything. Barker also went into more details about what Obsession 2 could look like and if there is a potential for it, even saying that they are open to doing something of a sequel of sorts, even if it may be a TV show or anthology series. So this is what he had to say. I obviously have a couple more things that I'm excited about next, but I do see Obsession 2 maybe. We do know, of course, that Barker is doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot for A24. He is also making Anything But Ghosts with Aaron Paul and Bryce Dallas Howard, which is already wrapped filming, I believe, and it takes place in a sort of scenario where two amateur con men of sorts try to pretend that they are exorcising demons of sorts, and then they actually come across a real demon. But he would also love to dive deeper into Obsession and continues. Or even what really is exciting to me is maybe an anthology, like a 1-hour episode. Each episode is a different wish that goes completely off the rails. Maybe I'll direct the pilot with the same DP, and you can invite other filmmakers to kind of give their spin at it. That would be really cool. So that sounds interesting to me. Maybe we could see it somewhere on Peacock if he is working with Blumhouse and also with Focus Features. And it's honestly exciting to hear that Barker has these ideas for it, but also interesting that he's also critiquing his own work with thinking that it doesn't make sense. But I am very curious of what an Obsession 2 could look like, what exactly that would entail, especially with a wish. Do you go back to having somebody be obsessed, or do you have another wish that totally just doesn't make sense the more you think about it and you see it just go down a very, very dark path? I think it's time to up the stakes as well in order for people to be interested in, because we are seeing some wild things online, and I think it's always great to subvert those expectations and give the audience something different. So I think they have a long road ahead, but of course, course, Barker has Anything But Ghosts, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so the probability of seeing a Obsession 2 of any sorts, whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a special, is probably 4 years down the line, if anything. So we'll see what happens. Very curious to see, but I think that the ending they chose was perfect. I think that it is also great that Barker is thinking more about how this work would work, because the more you think about it, also the more innovative you can become with the next one. And I do hope they do the anthology, as he says, with other filmmakers, because I would love to see other filmmakers take a crack at the One Wish Willow and see what crazy heinous thing they can come up with. But honestly, excited. Cannot wait to talk more about Obsession once we get more stuff. But we have a ton of other movies coming out. We have The Backrooms coming out next week. Very, very pumped about that. I already did a video talking about The Backrooms and its trailer. We do have a theory video coming out. We're also watching The Amazing Digital Circus, so cannot wait for that. So make sure you keep it locked in here by hitting that subscribe button. Follow us on TikTok because we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers over there. Also Instagram, we're trying to get to the 1,000 subscribers. So we're just trying to build the brands out a little bit more and bring you some more amazing stuff this summer. So cannot wait for that. Stay tuned for a ton of announcements, as well as we are expanding more with the channel and some very, very exciting stuff on another channel, which I'll talk to you soon. But you can go follow us right there, right now, if you want to. Links below. We got some shorts coming. Very excited about that. But as always, I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.
Surface. All right, just take it slow.
Oh my God.
Pull me up, pull me up, pull me up!
What do you see?
All these rooms. This place builds them. It's like a maze. It just goes on and on. Sometimes I'm scared I'll get lost.
Barker!